Okay, so that's the recording start. So we've got a busy agenda today. I'll go first as always with a few active Cumbria and local updates. And we've got Debs who's going to share exciting news about the North West Dance-a-thon coming up in March. That sounds amazing. So hopefully we can all get engaged with that. And then delighted to have Ali Oliver with us today. I'll introduce Ali properly when it comes to that, doing our keynote speaker session. And then we'll pop into breakout rooms for a bit with your local school games organisers before coming back together for any final thoughts and questions and answers. Okay, so as you all should have seen by now, this is our CPD calendar. This is our offer, what we can put on and organise for you. If there's something that's not on there, please do shout up and we can see what we can do. And you can find that on our website. So coming up this term, we've got Take 10. This has been circulated quite a few times now. So we've got Monday, the 2nd of February. So that's next Monday. We've got our session in Carlisle. And then on Tuesday, we've got our session in Workington. There's a few spaces left on both of them, but we can just close this Thursday at 1 p.m. So if you haven't booked and you want to, please do that as soon as possible. If you're in the Let's Move area, you'll have been invited, your school or setting will have been invited directly from my colleague, John Patrick. Then, unfortunately, on the same date, we've got two twilights happening. We've got fundamental movement skills coming up at Rosley School. So the first one is on Monday from 4:45 to 5:15, as you can see. And then we've got the following Monday, the second session. So it's a two-part. If you're interested in attending that, then the booking link's on the bottom, or get in touch. Again, the booking closes this Thursday at 1 p.m. And just let these people in the lobby in. Sorry, 2 seconds, just go ahead. Okay, and then most excitingly, well, I shouldn't say most exciting, very excitingly, we've got our subject leaders workshops coming up in March, but I'm not going to tell you about those because we've got Vicky with us today. So Vicky, if you'd like to unmute, and then you can tell people what pearls of wisdom you're going to be sharing in March.
Oh, Kirsty, it's the highlight of my year. I love my annual trip to Cumbria. Hello, everyone, me again. If you would love to join me again for our annual subject leadership get together, it would be wonderful to have you there. It's been really great conversations with you over the last few years. It was fab when you brought your governors as well. That governor conversation and governance last year was really, really valuable, and I hope you found it really useful too. As always, and I'm sure as Ali's going to say, the pace of the landscape is moving on at quite a rate. So if you'd like to come and join me, and if you can come out for the day and join me, we are going to just catch up together on all things strategic around subject leadership and where things might impact upon your school and your role. As you know, those days are very much driven by you. You can dictate the questions, the discussions, the context of your school, what's needed. But just as a broad overview, I will speak to the assessment, curriculum and assessment review, some of the significant aspects that have come up in that document that's shaping what we're doing in the national curriculum drafting currently. And then I'll be able to go through some of the key changes for Ofsted inspections that are now sort of moving out of pilot phase and into inspection, and what you can expect that will impact for you and your school for physical education. And we may or may not, who knows, hear about the outcome of the primary PE and sport premium going forward. That should be an imminent announcement, but we have not heard as of yet. So therefore, we will have good, useful discussions, I hope, depending on the outcome of that, about how you can plan and prepare for that. And as always, anything's game, safe practice, assessment, curriculum, anything you want to talk about, we can unpick all your kind of school specific or local area discussions as well. So I'd love you to come and join me for those days if you can. Thank you, Kirsty.
Lovely, thanks Vicky. And you've got a little bit longer to book those. Booking for those closes on the 23rd of February. But obviously it's better for us if you get bookings in quickly so we can see how demand is going. So yeah, I really would recommend that you come to those with so many changes afoot that Ali is going to touch on shortly. I think it'll be great to have a day together to unpick those. Okay, Katie, my colleague Katie, who's now in charge of school games, is on leave at the minute. So this is just a little quick slide showing you what's coming up. These are the county events for your local events, you should have been sent the information from your local school games organiser. If you're not sure who they are, then when you see the slide, there's a link on the bottom that'll take you to their contact details. So if you don't know them, if you're new to the role, please do get in touch. They'll be delighted to help you out. Just a quick couple of points, I'm not going to read it all out to you. So there are a few spaces left only in the afternoons now for the North Cumbria Temping Bowling. They're coming up really soon, 5th and 12th of February. You can email me, but really your key contact there is Karen Cook, who's the Carlisle SGO. But if you don't have her details, if you send it to me, then I can forward that on to her. The transition festivals are coming up, so I think this will be the 3rd year we're doing these. And again, you will have been contacted by your local school games organiser. The important bit being that it's for feeder schools going into secondary schools. It's for those year 6s that you're a bit concerned about, need a little bit of extra support with the move into year 7. And the year 7s come and they're selected to be supportive and compassionate and caring. And it's a real team building, collaborative, social day, just to help boost the confidence with lots of fun activities. Remember, for all our events, the target audience are less active children, those SEND children, and children who don't usually get to represent your school at competitive sporting events. We want to make sure that everybody's getting the opportunities to take part in sport and physical activity. Further information about all the county events can be found in the School Games Handbook, which has been emailed out to all schools, but is also on our website. Again, if you need it, just drop me an email. Quick reminder that if you're perhaps a new PE lead and you're not aware of this, then do sign up to the free Barclays Girls Football in Schools programme. It's dead easy. You register, then you take the pledge, and that gives you access to CPD, digital resources, and it's all about giving girls equal access to football in schools. And obviously we've got big things coming up this year in the football world, so let's get as many girls playing as we can. So some of you shall hopefully be aware of the Active Live surveys. This is a national survey, and we got the data in December from the most recent cohort, and it's not a great picture, unfortunately. So it shows that in Cumbria, across Cumbria, 44.5% of our children and young people are classed as active, which is below the national average of 49.1%. In Cumberland, we're slightly below, it's 46.1%. In Westmoreland and Furness, there's been a real decrease. Unfortunately, it's 10.5% below national average. It's dropped down to 38.6%. We're trying to unpick the data and find out why. One of the main reasons we think it's dropped, because we don't think it's that children aren't physically active. We don't think that schools aren't doing an amazing job. We think it's sample sizes. There's been really, really small sample sizes last year. Across the whole county, only 6 primary schools completed it. So the accuracy of the data could be questionable a little bit just because it's such a small sample size. So our ask for you is, if you are selected, then please do take part. Katie, my colleague, sends out the emails, and we've got colleagues all across Cumbria that are available to come into school and help you do it with the children. You know, we recognise a class of 30 trying to fill in an online survey might be a little bit stressful and daunting. So many hands make light work, and the schools that we've gone into to do it, it's worked really well, and it takes about 20 minutes, half an hour tops. So if you do get selected, please do engage. As well as it providing important data, there's benefits for your school from doing it. So you get a healthy schools rating, which is really useful. You get a bespoke report from all the data. And there are also credits towards equipment. The catalogue's really good. You get quite a lot for the credits, and you can boost the credits by getting more parents to take part in the parent survey. So lots of amazing reasons why to take part. We've produced this infographic just so people are aware of what the Chief Medical Officer recommends. So the 30 active minutes inside school, 30 active minutes outside school. Some schools go for it and say, we'll do the whole 60 minutes. For disabled children and young people, it's 20 minutes a day. And it's just got some of the benefits on it and some ideas of the activities you can do. So I'll send that round. We've got that as a PDF, so I'll send that round afterwards, and perhaps it can go up in your staff rooms, or just to make sure that people are aware of what the expectations are. Okay, so we're delighted today to be joined by Ali Oliver. So Ali, oh, sorry, jumped. I've jumped. It's not Ali Oliver. Well done, Debs. We've got Debs before Ali. That's me skipping thing on my agenda. So sorry, Debs is first. So Debs has come to talk to us about the Northwest Dance-a-thon. So I'll put myself on mute and pass over to Debs.
Thanks, Kirsty. So I'm a public health consultant working at Westmoreland and Furness, and Eat Well, Move More are two of my areas. But I've been working with voluntary sector organisations, inclusive dance and disability charities across the north to coordinate this 21-day dance-a-thon, and we want to get everyone dancing. So our dream is that we create spaces for everyday inclusion through dance. And that's where we want to work with schools and workplaces and other settings, healthcare settings, to make that part of people's everyday. So we're asking people to pledge to the challenge to dance every day for 21 days. And we very much are showcasing the different ways in which people will do that. So there's no right moves, there's different ways people are going to incorporate it as part of their day, but celebrating diversity in ability and in age and in ways in which people move. And it's a fundraiser where we're creating team fundraising as well as individual that promotes charities that are doing inclusive dance or enabling children and young people to thrive. So the ask is simple. It's saying join us for 5 minutes a day, do it your way. That might be little bits of dance throughout the day, or joining, doing a video, but we're saying there's no one right way to do it. We just want people to commit to, like the mile a day for schools, it's the dance a day. So we are working with organisations across the north too, who are inclusive organisations, to get some video content, and we're animating it. And we're producing 30-second animation videos which people will watch every day, and it inspires them to move. So that can be watched in the classroom and followed by a dance snack or a 1-minute video where we've got people with a disability who are doing simple moves that you can watch and follow from the class, or at home with your parents on the weekend. So we're doing this as part of the National Day of Dance that falls on the weekend, but so we're inviting people to join in-person events if they want to. And on the final day, it's World Down Syndrome Day. So it's very much about, making this a global movement. So really now what we're doing is we've got a bunch of publicity and engagement information packs, ambassador packs to circulate, and I'd love to work with everybody here to make sure it gets out to our students and also their families to see about the pros of being part of this event, but also encourage people to sign up. And then just finally, I wanted to say that one of the real opportunities here is we're working with my community, Penrith, which is part of For Eden, who have some community reporters with a disability. And we would love for them to speak to people in the school network across Cumbria to see about how they are going to make it part of their everyday. And so we'd love to speak to, any local leaders, who are managing teams, to ask you kind of, are you going to join us to do this pledge? But how are you going to make it part of your working day? And what ideas you've got about how we can make it easier for people to dance at work and at school. So I will circulate all the information via Kirsty, and I'm really looking forward to working with you all the year on how we can create fun and inclusion through dance and how we can grow this movement. So I needed to keep it short, but I can always talk forever about this, but I'll stop sharing now, and then really looking forward to answering any questions if they come up. Happy for you to contact me via email, and I'm working in the area, so can easily come and visit as well.
Perfect, thanks Debs. I know personally I'm really looking forward to it. I actually thought it was in February. I was like, oh, I've got to wait another month. So yeah, really looking forward to it. It'll be great to hear stories of how people are getting involved. Okay, I'll not put the slides back on because Ali can share her own slides. So now, thanks Debs, delighted to say that we're joined by Ali Oliver. So I'm sure everybody knows who she is, but Ali is the Chief Executive Officer of the Youth Sport Trust. She's been working there since 2004. Joined as the Implementation Director, leading the establishment of the network of school sport partnerships under the previous Labour government, so very timely. And she's been the CEO since 2016. But Ali started as a PE teacher, so resonates with a lot of us. then led the teacher training programme at the University of Bath before becoming the Deputy Director of Sport. In 2020, she was awarded her MBE for services to sport. So really, really delighted that she's with us today. She's got lots of information to share with you. So without further ado, I will pass over to Ali, who's got her slides ready, and let her get started. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Kirsty. It's the longest introduction ever and very embarrassing, but thank you anyway for your kind words. And just to say hello from me, and lovely to hear, Vicky, your piece, and also Deborah, your passion around the Dance-a-thon. It is wonderful to be able to speak to you as a network today. Wonderful to see how much is going on and how brilliantly schools are being supported by the individuals that have already spoken on the screen, and a huge thanks to them, Kirsty, Vicky and Deborah, but also to all of you. They don't very often let me out, so it's nice to be out, and it's really important. The first thing I just do is recognise the immense work that you do every day on behalf of children, and thank you for helping them develop their positive relationship with movement and hopefully equip them with a joy and love for being active, whatever their passion in the future. It never gets said enough. Thank you to teachers. So I always do want to start with that. I've got about 15-20 minutes, and I'm going to try and blend, hopefully, Kirsty, a little bit of the keynote feel, but also some of the essentials information that you kindly asked me to speak on. So
yeah,
it's kind of two bits here. There's the storm, and then there's the hope. So
I understand the teams.
Oh.
You can come in. I've got my camera off.
Is that all right? I can just do you want me to carry on, Kirsty, or are you?
Yeah, no, there's just some background noise. If people can make sure they've got their
okay. Sorry, I wasn't sure.
That would be great,
talking to me. So there's some tough stuff we're dealing with, but also lots and lots of hope on the horizon. And I'm going to try and do a bit of a balanced scorecard. So I don't need to tell you this. You work with children every single day, and you don't just read it in the papers, you see it in front of you. But sometimes a kind of a montage like this of some of the headlines about the state of childhood today, and particularly the health and well-being of children, is a really important reminder of why we all do what we do. And often these network sessions, can be brilliant in terms of the what and indeed the how. Quite often instructive in how you can do things differently and how you can include more, etc., etc. But I just want to, I suppose, really just remind us of the why, and the why it's so important, more important than ever, for physical education to be a priority in schools, for those responsible for it to be able to connect the impact of physical education and physical activity on a daily basis in school sport to the agendas which are inhibiting children's learning. So we know that active children do better and active schools achieve more, and we also know that inactive children suffer from poorer well-being, a worse sense of belonging in school, and as a result often are less regularly attending or feel less like they belong at school, and that impacts on their achievement. So it's kind of core business of the school. And we've made the class of 2035 at the Youth Sport Trust a bit of a bit of a milestone, looking ahead for what will the class of 2035 look like if nothing else changes. And there's some really scary stuff. Like we know from the class of 2035 report and some of the forecasting that we'll have double the number of children by 2035 having type 2 diabetes, an entirely preventable condition, and never a condition we ever thought we would see in childhood. We're also seeing some scary things. Some of you may see this in your school or may heard of this, but there's now a thing called flat heads, where children are in their early years and even appearing at primary school with flat heads. The back of the head is flattened, where children haven't had enough tummy time and have often been spent too long in front of screens, even in the early years. We've got blank face syndrome appearing, where children haven't developed the musculature in their face because they haven't had the opportunity to interact with human beings as much, either with other children or with their parents and carers, and they simply haven't developed those facial expressions, but being then misdiagnosed with a whole range of neurological conditions when it's simply a lack of facial expression and interaction with other humans. And then the final one is we've actually seen young people now presenting to the healthcare profession with symptoms of sedation, where they've spent so long in front of a screen that it actually appears that they've been sedated, the impact on them. And while I know physical education and physical activity and school sport is not a silver bullet, in all of those instances that I've just described, if children were more active, less sedentary, and playing more with each other, those things just wouldn't happen. So that's kind of why I put up that storm at the beginning. And Kirsty's already talked about the active lives data in Cumbria. And I just want to reinforce the importance of completion of the active life survey if you're invited to do it. It is the only national statistic on children's physical activity levels. And therefore, it's what drives decision-making, policy and investment. And what I've put on the screen is obviously the national picture, and what Kirsty described is what does that look like in your area. And nationally, we are nudging in the right direction. That we're kind of up from 47.3% last year to 49.1%. But we're still less than half of children getting the Chief Medical Officer's daily recommendation, and nearly a third of children getting less than 30 active minutes. And of course, like most things, there are the inequalities within it. This is not Cumbria data, just let me reinforce, this is national data, but we can see in primary schools, got a real challenge around year 3-4, particularly. You can see that dip. We obviously all understand and know the impact of family affluence. And we also know that other factors, that protected characteristics like gender identity and ethnicity all play a part in it. So it's just reminding us of our why and reminding us of where we need to put our efforts and energies if we are to reclaim childhood. And hopefully this will be music to Vicky's ears when she is promoting those sessions that she talked about earlier. But physical education isn't imperfect health either. You can look at this and take or leave from it whatever seems to resonate for you in your school. So I'm not saying this is the picture across all schools, but we do know that the workforce is varied in its knowledge and understanding. Again, nothing to do with the individuals in the workforce, but it's the time and space in initial teacher education and the just vastness of your role, that it's very difficult to be confident and competent in every subject. But we do know that there's a real variety of delivery models. Some of those delivery models have seen the displacement of teachers by non-qualified staff, which isn't great. We really want a qualified teacher in front of every child. But even where qualified staff have come in with an uncertain future, the question is how confident and competent are all the staff in the schools if the primary premium has been allowing you to have a specialist physical educator? How has the specialist been able to build confidence and competence in your wider class teachers? You can see that 4 out of 10 are outsourcing their PE curriculum. And then some of the other statistics you can see on there, we've just talked about the Chief Medical Officer's guidance, but also we still see that physical education is the subject that suffers most for lessons cancelled, which again is not always easy to manage. If you have no outdoor facilities, limited indoor facilities, and the weather inhibits you, we know that's a genuine challenge, but sometimes it's cancelled for the wrong reasons. It's deprioritized for preparation for SATs, etc. And you know, I will always say this because it's my job and it's something I'm passionate about, but physical education is a foundation subject. And that foundation means it's the foundation on which everything else in school is built. If children are enabled and enriched to have a positive physical identity, to feel confident in their bodies, to feel able to socialize and play with others, that clearly benefits their learning and their sense of belonging in the classroom more generally. So we have got some work to do. Despite the primary premium now being around, we're into its 13th year of the primary PE and sport premium. All is not perfect. But listen, I'm going to change from the storm to the light now. There is lots, I think, for us as people who devote our lives to helping the next generation be as successful as we can be. And things are changing. We are seeing a change in public mood around children and young people. And importantly, we're seeing government intervene more in the conditions which are creating this horrible, miserable cocktail for children. So whether it's the kind of steps that have been taken to stop selling vapes, bubblegum flavored vapes to children, steps taken to stop the sale of high caffeine drinks. We've just seen the ban on junk food advertising before 9 p.m. And very live at the moment, of course, is the debate since Australia banned social media for under 16s, and Bridget Phillipson's letter this week to schools about schools being phone free. So we are turning a bit of a corner. And I do feel that really we've got to continue to think about the purpose that physical education and physical activity plays in our school. Not just that it's, of course, it's a subject that's core in the curriculum at every key stage, but how do we use it, and how do we manipulate the way in which we deliver physical education so it leans into many of these issues that young people are facing. And for those of you that'll be old enough, you'll remember the game Blockbusters on telly, where people would try and answer questions in various hexagons across a board and make their way from one side to the other. And I guess what I'm trying to show on this is some of these conditions should be blocked and stopped, or at least their implications of some of these things reduced if we can get children playing and more active. I often talk about the social thinning, the hollowing out of children's social lifestyles, because it's just not safe to go out and there is fewer places and spaces for young children to play. But we also know that there are neurological things that don't happen in children if they don't move. The connection between the brain and body, and particularly the prefrontal cortex and the hypothalamus, that are so central to children's learning, are all impacted by sedentary behaviour. They're shown to be, those bits of the brains are shown to be smaller in children who are less active. It literally is no joke to say when you're teaching PE or when you're delivering playtime activities or enrichment after school, you are growing brain cells. It is no exaggeration to say that. So what we got to all be doing, folks, is really focusing on that why, this precious tool that we have in our hands at PE, and how do we do what's right, what's not what's easy. And I know nothing's really easy, but it can be easy to make decisions based on convenience or against all of the priority list that we have. So just talking about the primary premium first, primary PE and sport premium first. This is an image of the toolkit that you have to help you with reporting, and we now have the online portal. It's really important that you use that. Again, the data on that is drawn off to see whether this investment makes a difference and whether this investment is something that's important to sustain. So don't ever think that your time is wasted doing these things. And I'm almost presenting here, as it says on that cover of that toolkit, on behalf of the Association for PE and the Youth Sport Trust here, that we've got to be aware that the primary PE and sport premium may not be around forever in its current guise. The lack of accountability that's been there with it over the years has made it difficult for government to judge whether £320 million a year of public money is being well spent. So if doing the right thing now, not the easy thing, were to be listed as 5 bullets, it would be these 5 bullets. We absolutely feel if you haven't really made a push on increasing confidence, knowledge and skills of all your staff in your school with the primary premium this year, please do it. If you haven't really tackled those least active young people, or those who, due to family circumstance, if they don't get it in school, they aren't going to get it afterwards, try as best you can to raise the profile of the subject across the school. Just simply looking at the data that you have as a school anyway on pupil progress, attendance, behaviour incidents, how does that relate to how active children are, to try and make the case. Making sure that all young people, particularly those children with SEND, or indeed, we heard earlier about the Barclays Girls football programme, how we're giving equal experience regardless of gender, disability or ethnicity, or any of those other protected characteristics. And of course, increase the participation in competitive sport. But as was said earlier, the school games is absolutely there to give those young people who wouldn't be usually likely to get the thrill of competitive sport, whether that's because family can't take them to a club to experience it, whether their physical literacy and their development means they wouldn't be selected for a performance team, or because competitive sport hasn't previously included young people with disabilities in a way that makes it accessible to all. That's what the school games is about, tackling inequality. So just do your little checklist now as you're looking at this. What are you spending your primary P and sport premium on? Is it going on these sorts of things, so that, you know, if there isn't a premium in the future, or there isn't as much premium in the future, or if it's invested differently, the things on this list should mean that you've made a sustained impact on either your school or a child's experiences and relationship with movement. On the school games, just to add, I was thrilled actually when I was briefed on Cumbria to hear that there's been a 30% increase in school games mark awards. Thank you so much for doing that, alongside the Active Lives data. That's the only other data. It's not a national data set like Active Lives, but it is data from nearly 10,000 schools across the country, which demonstrates the impact of having that network of 450 organisers across the country. And the application window will be open again soon, so please do ask your school games organiser for support. All these things can feel like another job to do, and in reality they are another job to do. But if you're passionate about your subject and helping the government understand that the investments it makes does drive improvement in the system and better opportunities for young people, these are the only ways by which they know. So those Active Life statistics and school games mark awards are a huge part of the evidence base. Now I'm just going to finish quickly talking about why else we should be optimistic, because there's lots on the horizon of policy change, which Vicky clearly is going to go into a lot more detail in her sessions that she highlighted earlier. But Vicky being one of them, the authoring team working on the new aims and objectives and strands of the new curriculum as a result of the curriculum assessment review, is work ongoing at the moment. But there are a few things that we know the Department for Education responded to the curriculum and assessment review with, which will shape the authoring of that new curriculum. So a strengthened focus on foundations, strengthened focus on making this curriculum a movement curriculum, not a sport curriculum. How do we really home in on young people's relationship with movement, the definition of physical literacy, so that young people will always feel that they belong in an active environment and that they have the competence to feel that sense of opportunity and accessibility. There's going to be a heightened focus, I think, on swimming, outdoor adventurous activity and dance. These subjects kind of reduced, been squeezed in the curriculum, either because of lack of expertise, lack of resourcing, or lack of opportunity. So they are going to be amplified in the spirit of the holistic development of the child through physical education. As you would expect with the white paper, we're going to see an increased focus on SEND inclusion, making sure our curriculums truly are designed with inclusion at the start, not as an afterthought. And how do we now make this activity inclusive? How do we plan inclusive curriculums and lessons? I think we'll see in there a real reference to the expectations around 2 hours of PE and how we achieve 60 active minutes for every child. And of course, you know, and I'll touch on in a minute, that there is going to be an increased expectation around enrichment to complement the taught curriculum. The curriculum being drafted now, there'll be some, we understand, some sort of piloting of the curriculum in 2027 with full rollout in 2028. The new PE and School Sport Partnership Network, we're waiting for the Department for Education to issue the contract for who's going to manage that process. But we do know that there will be a new network piloted from 2006 in selected areas of the country and then rolled out from 2007. And that will evolve the great work that's been done by the School Games Organiser Network alongside the active partnerships, but will, we understand, be designed to make even better return on the government's investment across PE and school sports, whether that's the school games, whether it's the primary PE and sport premium, whether that's things like Inclusion 2028, which is funded by the Department for Education as well. How do all these individual streams be delivered in a more strategic and coherent way, and importantly support schools with local expertise and local knowledge and understanding to meet your needs and the needs of your children. So the network has got 3 objectives: reintegrate physical education and physical activity back at the heart of schools across the taught curriculum and the co-curricular programme. And this is about the holistic development of the child, that you can't say you've educated a child if you haven't educated them physically. And without physical education, young people will have gaps in their development, which will inhibit their access to other subjects in the curriculum. Elevate the quality of teaching of PE. So there's definitely going to be a focus on physical literacy and workforce development. So hopefully we might see something that's more akin to a national professional development programme for teachers, rather than you having to sift through and decide of the many providers in the marketplace who's the best one, who's the right one, who fits your school best. And then finally, the other objective of this network is expanding access and opportunity by building partnerships with more community providers, more local and national organisations. The 3 strands of equal play, which is around SEND, equal access, which is around girls, and equal opportunity, which is around children from disadvantaged backgrounds. Those 3 principles will be hardwired into the work of the new network. And that new network, whatever it looks like, we've got no idea yet, but it will be made up of capacity at a local level, whether that will be discrete external capacity that can come in and work alongside you, or whether actually the capacity will come from within and will be bought out of schools. So we've got expert practitioners in the future PE and school sport partnership. We don't know yet, but the whole idea is to build some capacity at a local level as well as capability that's particularly sensitive to local need. But we get away from the postcode lottery, which I think works really well in Cumbria, i.e. you're one of the postcode areas where you've got great support and a great programme, and this is part of it. But I tell you, I go to other places in the country and they aren't so lucky, and the children there are getting a much worse deal. So the final thing from me before I go, just about on time, I think, hopefully, Kirsty, is the enrichment framework, which we know we're expecting at any time to see more from the Department for Education on a set of benchmarks for enrichment, which will set out for schools what high quality enrichment looks like to the Department for Education. Hopefully, it will also define what enrichment looks like to you as professionals. But what it will do is it will again create some sort of uniformity across the country so that children don't experience vastly different educations wherever they happen to live and be brought up. And the enrichment framework, as you can see on the screen there, has got 5 strands to it. So civic engagement, kind of the engagement in the community, sort of enrichment activities that you do that take your young people into the community. Arts and culture, nature and outdoor and adventurous activities, sport and physical activity, and then things that develop life skills. So there's lots of places that physical activity, play and sport can feed in to the enrichment framework. It's not just the sport and physical activity work strand. I believe your young leaders can do some amazing stuff in civic engagement. Outdoor and adventurous activity is part of the national curriculum, but also we get children outside and develop their relationship with nature through PE and sport. And of course, we develop a whole heap of life skills, from communication through resilience to team working. So the enrichment framework is there, hopefully, to put wind in the sails of people who are responsible for improving the quality and opportunities for young people through play, sport, physical education and physical activity. I wish one day we'd come up with one word that everyone could agree with. But anyway, until then, I'm not missing any of them out. So just to finish on the Youth Sport Trust, we're a national charity. We know that there's only certain things that we can do as a national charity, and lots of things have to be supported locally. And that's why the active partnerships are so crucial in understanding the local context and the local physical activity plan. But we do have a Well School movement, which is growing rapidly. This is a network of schools who are actively placing well-being at the heart of their school development plan. And within that well-being intent, obviously movement is fundamental. There is no well-being without physical activity and movement. It's as simple as that. Whether you're talking about physical, social or emotional well-being, all of them are dependent on that foundation of physical activity and movement. We're doing quite a lot of work through an Enrichment in Action series and resources, if that's helpful give you examples of how schools are already pioneering approaches to enrichment in readiness for the enrichment framework. We're right in the middle of Inclusion Week Live now, which is a week of freely available professional development. Just put in Inclusion Week Live in your search engine and you'll find the programme of online sessions that you can attend or view recorded. And please put in your diary, National School Sport Week, 6th to 12th of July next year, later than it normally is, but we would love to be able to show the nation, not just government, but the nation, just how brilliant the work is that you do day to day. And that week is a week of us amplifying your work at the highest volume to let everybody know how essential this stuff is, why it's important to children, but also why we should never underestimate the discretionary effort that goes in through PE teachers, coordinators of physical education, and the staff who support it. So it's probably an appropriate place for me to finish and say, as I started, thank you so much. Sorry, it was a bit of a canter through, but I hope that's okay, Kirsty.
That's amazing. Thank you, Ali. Thank you so much for giving up your time to come and join us this afternoon. So much valuable information there. I'll get the slides out to everybody, and I'm sure we'll be flooded with questions and emails. And as we've said, Vicky's coming up in March, so she'll be able to spend a bit more time delving into these things. So yeah, big thank you to Ali. And also I want to thank you guys all. I know the fact that you are here, you come to these meetings, term in, term out, is that you are getting it right, and there is hope for the future, because you do know what you're doing about getting children and young people physically active. So yeah, thank you for being here. So on that note, I will pass you over to your local school games organisers. Michelle has got the breakout rooms all sorted. She's smiling at me and nodding. So she'll open them now. We'll do 10 minutes or so, come back about 6 minutes to 5 for any last questions, any final thoughts. And we'll see you all then. Fingers crossed that you go to the right places. Good luck.